Book 2, Part 2. The hardy warriors whom Boeotia bred, Peneleos, Leitus, Prothoenor led. With these Arcesilaus and Clonius stand, equal in arms, and equal in command. These head the troops that rocky Aulis yields, and Eetion's hills, and Hyria's watery fields, and Schoenus, Scolus, Gria near the main, and Megalesus's ample piny plain. Those who in Petion or Elysion dwell, or Harma, where Apollo's prophet fell, Heion and Hyle, which the springs o'erflow, and Medion lofty, and Ocelia low, or in the meads of Haliartus stray, or Thespia, sacred to the god of day, on Cistus, Neptune's celebrated groves, Copaiae and Thisbe famed for silver doves, for flocks Erythrae, Glyca for the vine, Plataea green, and Nysa the divine; and they whom Thebe's well-built walls enclose, where mighty Eutresis Coronia rose, and Arne rich, with purple harvests crown'd, and Anthedon, Boeotia's utmost bound. Full 50 ships they send, and each conveys twice 60 warriors through the foaming seas. To these succeed Aspledon's martial train, who plough the spacious Orchomenian plain. 2 valiant brothers rule the undaunted throng, Ialmen and Ascalaphus the strong, sons of Astyoche, the heavenly fair, whose virgin charms subdued the god of war. In Actor's court as she retired to rest, the strength of Mars the blushing maid compress'd. Their troops in 30 sable vessels sweep, with equal oars the horse-resounding deep. The Phocians next in 40 barks repair, Epistrophus and Schedius head the war, from those rich regions where Cephisus leads his silver current through the flowery meads; from Panopia, Chryse the divine, where Onomoria's stately turrets shine, where Pytho, Daulis, Cyparissus stood, and fair Lilia views the rising flood. These, ranged in order on the floating tide, close on the left the bold Boeotians' side. Fierce Ajax led the Locrians' squadrons on, Ajax the less, Oïleus' valiant son, skill'd to direct the flying dart aright, swift in pursuit, and active in the fight. Him, as their chief, the chosen troops attend, which Bessa, Thronus, and rich Cynos send, Opus, Caliarus, and Scarpes bands, and those who dwell where pleasing Augeae stands, and where Boagrius floats the lowly lands, or in fair Tarphe's sylvan seats reside, in 40 vessels cut the yielding tide. Eubœa next her martial sons prepares, and sends the brave Abantes to the wars. Breathing revenge, in arms they take their way, from Chalcis' walls, and strong Erythrae. The Istæan fields, for generous vines renowned, the fair Carystus, and the Styrian ground, where Dios from her towers o'erlooks the plain, and high Cerinthus views the neighbouring main. Down their broad shoulders falls a length of hair, their hands dismiss not the long lance in air, but with protended spears in fighting fields pierce the tough corslets and the brazen shields. Twice 20 ships transport the warlike bands, which bold Elephenor fierce in arms commands. Full 50 more from Athens stem the main, led by Menestheus through the liquid plain. Athens the fair, where great Erechtheus sway'd, that owed his nurture to the blue-eyed maid, but from the teeming furrow took his birth, the mighty offspring of the foodful earth. Him Pallas placed amidst her wealthy fane, adored with sacrifice and oxen slain, where, as the years revolve, her altars blaze, and all the tribes resound the goddess' praise. No chief like thee, Menestheus, Greece could yield, to martial armies in the dusty field, the extended wings of battle to display, or close the embodied host in firm array. Nestor alone, improved by length of days, for martial conduct bore an equal praise. With these appear the Salaminian bands, whom the gigantic Telamon commands. In 12 black ships to Troy they steer their course, and with the great Athenians join their force. Next move to war the generous Argive train, from high Treason and Macetta's plain, and fair Ægina circled by the main, whom strong Tyrinthe's lofty walls surround, and Epidar with viny harvests crowned; and where fair Asinoon and Hermione show their cliffs above, and ample bay below. These by the brave Euryalus are led, great Sthenelus, and greater Diomed; but chief Tydides bore the sovereign sway, in 80 barks they plough the watery way. The proud Mycenè arms her martial powers, Cleone, Corinth, with imperial towers; fair Arethurea, Ornia's fruitful plain, and Ægion, and Adrastus' ancient reign; and those who dwell along the sandy shore, where Pellene yields her fleecy store, where Helice and Hyperesia lie, and Gonoessa's spires salute the sky. Great Agamemnon rules the numerous band, 100 vessels in long order stand, and crowded nations wait his dread command. High on the deck the king of men appears, and his refulgent arms in triumph wears; proud of his host, unrivalled in his reign, in silent pomp he moves along the main. His brother follows, and to vengeance warms the hardy Spartans, exercised in arms; Pharis and Briseïs, valiant troops, and those whom Lacedaemon's lofty hills enclose, or Messe's towers for silver doves renowned; Amyclè, Laius, Augea's happy ground; and those whom Œtylus' low walls contain, and Helos on the margin of the main. These, o'er the bending ocean, Helen's cause, in 60 ships with Menelaus draws; eager and loud from man to man he flies, revenge and fury flaming in his eyes; while vainly fond, in fancy oft he hears the fair one's grief, and sees her falling tears. In 90 sail from Pylos' sandy coast, Nestor the sage conducts his chosen host. From Amphigenia's ever fruitful land, where Epë high, and little Pteleon stand; where beauteous Arene her structures shows, and Tiron's walls Alpheus streams enclose; and Dorian, famed for Thamiris' disgrace, superior once of all the tuneful race, till, vain of mortals' empty praise, he strove to match the seed of cloud compelling Jove; too daring bard, whose unsuccessful pride the immortal muses in their art defied. The avenging muses of the light of day deprived his eyes, and snatched his voice away; no more his heavenly voice was heard to sing, his hand no more awaked the silver string. Where under high Cyllene crowned with wood, the shaded tomb of old Epytus stood; from Rhipe, Stratia, Tegæa's bordering towns, the Fenian fields and Orchomenian downs; where the fat herds in plenteous pasture rove, and Stymphylus with her surrounding grove; Parizia on her snowy cliffs reclined, and high Anispe shook with wintry wind, and fair Mantinea's ever pleasing sight, in 60 sail the Arcadian bands unite. Bold Agapenor, glorious at their head, Ancaeus' son, the mighty squadron led. Their ships, supplied by Agamemnon's care, through roaring seas the wondering warriors bear; the first to battle on the appointed plain, but new to all the dangers of the main. Those, where fair Elis and Buprasium join, whom Hermione here and Myrsinus confine, and bounded there, where o'er the valleys rose the Olenian rock, and where Elysium flows, beneath 4 chiefs (a numerous army) came, the strengthened glory of the Epean name. In separate squadrons these their train divide, each leads 10 vessels through the yielding tide. One was Amphimachus, and Thalpius one, Eurytus this, and that Teatus' son; Diores, sprung from Amarynceus' line, and great Polyxenus, of force divine. But those who view fair Elis o'er the seas, from the blest islands of the Echinades, in 40 vessels under Meges move, begot by Phyleus, the beloved of Jove. To strong Dulichium from his sire he fled, and thence to Troy his hardy warriors led. Ulysses followed through the watery road, a chief in wisdom equal to a god. With those whom Cephalenius' line enclosed, or till their fields along the coast opposed, or where fair Ithaca o'erlooks the floods, where high Neritos shakes his waving woods, where Ægilippus' rugged sides are seen, Crocyllia rocky, and Zacynthus green. These in 12 galleys with vermilion prores beneath his conduct sought the Phrygian shores. Thoas came next, Andræmon's valiant son, from Pleuron's walls and chalky Calydon, and rough Pellene, and the Olenian steep, and Chalcis beaten by the rolling deep. He led the warriors from the Ætolian shore, for now the sons of Œneus were no more. The glories of the mighty race were fled, Œneus himself, and Meleager dead. To Thoas care now trust the martial train, his 40 vessels follow through the main. Next 80 barks the Cretan king commands, of Gnossus, Lyctos, and Gortynus' bands, and those who dwell where Rhytion's domes arise, or white Lycastus glitters to the skies, or where by Phaestus' silver Jardan runs. Crete's 100 cities pour forth all her sons. These march'd Idomeneus beneath thy care, and Merion, dreadful as the god of war. Tlepolemus, the son of Hercules, led 9 swift vessels through the foamy seas, from Rhodus, with everlasting sunshine bright, Halicius, Lindus, and Camirus white. His captive mother fierce Alcides bore, from Ephir's walls and Celeus' winding shore, where mighty towns in ruins spread the plain, and saw their blooming warriors early slain. The hero, when to manly years he grew, Alcides' uncle, old Licymnius, slew. For this, constrained to quit his native place, and shun the vengeance of the Herculean race, a fleet he built, and with a numerous train of willing exiles wander'd o'er the main, where, many seas and many sufferings past, on happy Rhodus the chief arrived at last. There in 3 tribes divides his native band, and rules them peaceful in a foreign land. Increased and prosper'd in their new abodes by mighty Jove, the sire of men and gods. With joy they saw the growing empire rise, and showers of wealth descending from the skies. 3 ships with Nereus sought the Trojan shore, Nereus, whom ugly to Charopus bore. Nereus, in faultless shape and blooming grace, the loveliest youth of all the Grecian race. Pelides only match'd his early charms, but few his troops, and small his strength in arms. Next 30 galleys cleave the liquid plain, of those Calydne's sea-girt isles contain. With them the youth of Nisyrus repair, Casus the strong, and Crapathus the fair. Cos, where Eurypylus possessed the sway, till great Alcides made the realms obey. These Antiphus and bold Phœdippus bring, sprung from the god, by Thessalus the king. Now, Muse, recount Pelasgic Argos' powers, from Alos, Atope and Tricon's towers, from Phthia's spacious vales, and Hella, bless'd with female beauty far beyond the rest. Full 50 ships beneath Achilles' care, the Achaians, Myrmidons, Hellenians bear. Thessalians all, though various in their name, the same their nation, and their chief the same. But now inglorious, stretch'd along the shore, they hear the brazen voice of war no more. No more the foe they face in dire array, close in his fleet the angry leader lay, since fair Briseïs from his arms was torn, the noblest spoil from sack'd Lyrnessus borne. Then, when the chief the Theban walls o'erthrew, and the bold sons of great Evenus slew, there mourn'd Achilles, plunged in depth of care, but soon to rise in slaughter, blood, and war. To these the youth of Phylacè succeed, Itona, famous for her fleecy breed, and grassy Ptalion, deck'd with cheerful greens, the bowers of Ceres, and the sylvan scenes. Sweet Pyrasus with blooming flowerets crown'd, and Antron's watery dens, and cavern'd ground. These own'd, as chief, Protesilas the brave, who now lay silent in the gloomy grave, the first who boldly touch'd the Trojan shore, and dyed a Phrygian lance with Grecian gore. There lies, far distant from his native plain; Unfinish'd his proud palaces remain, And his sad consort beats her breast in vain. His troops in 40 ships Podarces led, Iphiclus' son, and brother to the dead; Nor he unworthy to command the host, Yet still they mourn'd their ancient leader lost. The men who Glaphyres' fair soil partake, Where hills encircle Bebe's lowly lake, Where Phaerae hears the neighbouring waters fall, Or proud Iolcus lifts her airy wall, In 10 black ships embark'd for Ilion's shore, With bold Eumelus, whom Alceste bore. All Peleus' race Alceste far outshined, The grace and glory of the beauteous kind. The troops Methone or Thaumatia yields, Olizon's rocks, or Meliboea's fields, With Philoctetes sail'd, whose matchless art From the tough bow directs the feather'd dart. 7 were his ships, each vessel 50 row, Skill'd in his science of the dart and bow. But he lay raging on the Lemnian ground, A poisonous hydra gave the burning wound; There groan'd the chief in agonizing pain, Whom Greece at length shall wish, nor wish in vain. His forces Medon led from Lemnos' shore, Oïleus' son, whom beauteous Rhene bore. The Œchilian race, in whose high towers contained, Where once Eurytus in proud triumph reign'd, Or where her humbler turrets Tricca rears, Or where Ithome, rough with rocks, appears, In 30 sail the sparkling waves divide, Which Podalirius and Machaon guide. To these his skill their parent god imparts, Divine professors of the healing arts. The bold Ormenian and Asterian bands In 40 barks Eurypylus commands, Where Titan hides his hoary head in snow, And where Hyperia's silver fountains flow. Thy troops Argissa Polypœtes leads, And Ilion, shelter'd by Olympus' shades, Gertones' warriors, and where Orthe lies, And Oloöson's chalky cliffs arise. Sprung from Pirithous of immortal race, The fruit of fair Hippodamia's embrace. That day, when hurled from Pelion's cloudy head, To distant dens the shaggy Centaurs fled. With Polypœtes join'd in equal sway, Leonteus leads, and 40 ships obey. In 20 sail the bold Perrhaebians came, From Cyphus; Guneus was their leader's name. With these the Enneines join'd, and those who freeze Where cold Dodona lifts her holy trees, Or where the pleasing Tityresus glides, And into Peneus rolls his easy tides. Yet o'er the silvery surface pure they flow, The sacred stream unmix'd with streams below, Sacred and awful: from the dark abodes Styx pours them forth, the dreadful oath of gods. Last, under Proteus the Magnesians stood, Proteus the swift, of old Tenthredon's blood, Who dwell where Pelion, crown'd with piny boughs, Obscures the glade, and nods his shaggy brows; Or where through flowery Tempe Peneus stray'd, The region stretch'd beneath his mighty shade. In 40 sable barks they stemm'd the main; Such were the chiefs, and such the Grecian train. Say next, O Muse, of all Achaia breeds, Who bravest fought, or rein'd the noblest steeds? Eumelus' mares were foremost in the chase, As eagles fleet, and of Pheretian race; Bred where Pieria's fruitful fountains flow, And train'd by him who bears the silver bow. Fierce in the fight, their nostrils breathed a flame, Their height, their colour, and their age the same. O'er fields of death they whirl the rapid car, And break the ranks, and thunder through the war. Ajax in arms the first renown acquired, While stern Achilles in his wrath retired. His was the strength that mortal might exceeds, And his the unrivalled race of heavenly steeds. But Thetis' son now shines in arms no more, His troops neglected on the sandy shore. In empty air their sportive javelins throw, Or whirl the disk, or bend an idle bow. Unstained with blood his cover'd chariots stand, The immortal coursers graze along the strand. But the brave chiefs the inglorious life deplored, And wandering o'er the camp, required their lord. Now, like a deluge, covering all around, The shining armies sweep along the ground. Swift as a flood of fire, when storms arise, Floats the wild field, and blazes to the skies. Earth groaned beneath them, as when angry Jove hurls down the forky lightning from above, on Arima when he the thunder throws, and fires Typhoeus with redoubled blows; where Typhon, press'd beneath the burning load, still feels the fury of the avenging god. But various Iris, Jove's commands to bear, speeds on the wings of winds through liquid air. In Priam's porch the Trojan chiefs she found, the old consulting, and the youths around. Polites' shape, the monarch's son, she chose, who from Æsyetes' tomb observed the foes. High on the mound, from whence in prospect lay the fields, the tents, the navy, and the bay. In this dissembled form she hastes to bring the unwelcome message to the Phrygian king. "Cease to consult! The time for action calls; War, horrid war, approaches to your walls. Assembled armies oft have I beheld, But ne'er till now such numbers charged a field. Thick as autumnal leaves o'er driving sand, The moving squadrons blacken all the strand. Thou, godlike Hector, all thy force employ, Assemble all the united bands of Troy. In just array let every leader call The foreign troops; this day demands them all." The voice divine the mighty chief alarms; The council breaks, the warriors rush to arms. The gates unfolding pour forth all their train; Nations on nations fill the dusky plain. Men, steeds, and chariots shake the trembling ground; The tumult thickens, and the skies resound. Amidst the plain, in sight of Ilion, stands a rising mount, the work of human hands. This for Meriones' tomb the immortals know, Though called Bateia in the world below. Beneath their chiefs, in martial order here, The auxiliar troops and Trojan hosts appear. The godlike Hector, high above the rest, Shakes his huge spear, and nods his plumy crest. In throngs around his native bands repair, And groves of lances glitter in the air. Divine Æneas brings the Dardan race, And Chryses' son, by Venus' stolen embrace. Born in the shades of Ida's secret grove, A mortal mixing with the queen of love. Archelochus and Acamas divide The warrior's toils, and combat by his side. Who fair Zelia's wealthy valleys till, Fast by the foot of Ida's sacred hill, Or drink Æsepus of thy sable flood, Were led by Pandarus of royal blood, To whom his art Apollo deign'd to show, Graced with the presence of his shafts and bow. From rich Apæsus and Adrastea's towers, High Tyria's summits, and Pityea's bowers, From these the congregated troops obey Young Amphius and Adrastus' equal sway, Old Merop's sons, whom, skill'd in fates to come, The sire forewarned, and prophesied their doom. Fate urged them on; the sire forewarned in vain; They rush'd to war, and perish'd on the plain. From Practios' stream, Percotes' pasture lands, And Sestos, and Abydos' neighbouring strands, From great Arisbus' walls, and Scilia's coast, Asius Hyrtacades conducts his host. High on his car he shakes the flowing reins, His fiery coursers thunder o'er the plains. The fierce Pelasges next, in war renowned, March from Larissa's ever fertile ground. In equal arms their brother leaders shine, Hippothous bold, and Peleus the divine. Next Acamas and Pyrrhus led their hosts, In dread array, from Thracia's wintry coasts, Round the bleak realms where Hellespontus roars, And Boreas beats the hoarse resounding shores. With great Euphemus the Ciconians move, Sprung from Trezenian Zeus, loved by Jove. Pyræchmes the Pæonian troops attend, Skill'd in the fight their crooked bows to bend. From Axius' ample bed he leads them on, Axius, that laves the distant Amydon; Axius, that swells with all his neighbouring rills, And wide around the floating region fills. The Paphlagonians Pylæmenes rules, Where rich Henitia breeds her savage mules; Where Erythinus' rising cliffs are seen, Thy groves of box, Cytorus ever green; And where Ægialus and Cromna lie, And lofty Sesamus invades the sky; And where Parthenius, roll'd through banks of flowers, Reflects her bordering palaces and bowers. Here march'd in arms the Halizonian band, Whom Odius and Epistrophus command. From those far regions where the sun refines the ripening silver in Alybean mines. There mighty Chromis led the Mysian train, And augur Ennomus, inspired in vain; For stern Achilles lopp'd his sacred head, Roll'd down Scamander with the vulgar dead. Phorcys and brave Ascanius here unite, The Ascanian Phrygians, eager for the fight. Of those who round Mæonia's realms reside, Or whom the vales in shades of Tmolus hide, Mesthles and Antiphus the charge partake, Born on the banks of Gyges' silent lake. There from the fields where wild Meander flows, High Mycale and Latmos' shady brows, And proud Miletus, came the Carian throngs, With mingled clamours, and with barbarous tongues. Amphimachus and Nastes guide the train, Nastes the bold, Amphimachus the vain, Who, trick'd with gold, and glittering on his car, Rode like a woman to the field of war. Fool that he was! by fierce Achilles slain, The river swept him to the briny main. There, whelm'd with waves, the gaudy warrior lies; The valiant victor seized the golden prize. The forces last in fair array succeed, Which blameless Glaucus and Sarpedon lead; The warlike bands that distant Lycia yields, Where gulfy Xanthus foams along the fields. Book II. Part II.